Hidden in plain sight. 1. Your face becomes data. Facial recognition networks. Companies like Clearview AI scrape billions of images from public platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, to power facial recognition systems sold to law enforcement, military, and private companies. You have no control over this, and even opting out doesn't erase past data. Retail surveillance. Stores, like Walgreens, Amazon Go, use facial recognition and behavioral tracking to monitor customer sentiment, theft potential, and purchasing habits. Detriment. Your face is no longer just yours. It's a tag in databases you've never agreed to be part of, and the implications for discrimination, misuse, and misidentification are immense. 2. Your location is never private. Persistent GPS tracking. Apps like Google Maps, Uber, and even weather apps track location constantly. Even if you turn off GPS, Wi-Fi triangulation and Bluetooth beacons fill in the gap. Data sold to law enforcement. U.S. agencies like ICE and CBP purchase location data from brokers, e.g., Ventel, without needing a warrant, a loophole exposed but not closed. Detriment. Every movement you make feeds systems that can predict, manipulate, and control your behavior. This has implications for democracy, protest, and personal safety. 3. Your emotions are commodities. Emotion AI. Cameras in phones, laptops, and even kiosks analyze micro-expressions to infer mood and emotional state. Advertisers use this real-time feedback to manipulate purchasing behavior. Biometric feedback. Devices like Amazon Halo analyze tone of voice for emotional context. Soon, wearables may monitor stress hormones or heart rate to predict and influence decisions. Detriment. What feels private, your emotions and mental state, is being monitored, analyzed, and exploited without your explicit consent. 2. Military and intelligence black holes. What remains shielded? 1. Weaponized data from civilian platforms. Social media data extraction. Governments scrape platforms like Facebook and Twitter to create population sentiment maps, identify dissidents, and target individuals for influence operations. Gaming platforms as surveillance tools. Apps like Fortnite and Call of Duty have been used to monitor chat data for potential threats. The infrastructure exists to identify patterns of behavior far beyond gaming. Detriment. Platforms designed for socializing or entertainment are turned into tools for surveillance and control, often without oversight or accountability. 2. Smart cities as surveillance platforms. Connected infrastructure. Cameras, sensors, and IoT devices in smart cities collect data on movements, interactions, biometrics, and environmental factors. Documented example. China's social credit system uses this infrastructure to rank citizens' behavior, denying access to services for negative scores. Detriment. The infrastructure for surveillance states is being built under the guise of convenience and safety, even in democratic countries. 3. Predictive policing systems, Palantir, Predpol, and beyond. These systems analyze historical crime data and demographic patterns to predict future crimes. However, they often reinforce racial and socioeconomic biases. Undisclosed metrics. The algorithms are black boxes. Police forces using them cannot explain how or why decisions are made. Detriment. Predictive systems disproportionately target marginalized communities, undermining justice and perpetuating systemic oppression. 3. Biotechnology and genetic privacy. What's not being told? Your DNA is a commodity. Consumer testing companies like 23andMe and Ancestry DNA monetize genetic data by selling access to pharmaceutical companies and researchers. Even if you opt out, data from relatives who've tested can implicate you. Law enforcement access. Services like GED Match allow police to use genetic data for investigations. This has solved crimes, but has also exposed innocent family members to scrutiny. Detriment. Your genetic blueprint, your most private and immutable data, can be weaponized against you, even if you've never directly shared it. 2. CRISPR and gene editing patents. Corporate ownership of genes. Companies like Editas and Monsanto, now Bayer, own patents on specific genetic sequences, including those critical to agriculture and medicine. Human gene editing trials. CRISPR technology is being tested for cures, but the ethical implications of designer babies and weaponized genetics remain unresolved. Detriment. The commodification of life itself puts power over biology in the hands of a few corporations and governments. 4. The food system. What you're really eating, deliberately hidden. 1. Lab-grown meat and synthetic foods. Undisclosed additives. Companies producing lab-grown meat or plant-based alternatives, e.g., Impossible Foods, use synthetic ingredients whose long-term health effects are unknown. Funding sources. Major meat corporations, e.g., Tyson, JBS, invest in plant-based protein to control both traditional and alternative markets. Detriment. What's marketed as sustainable or ethical may be driven by profit motives with little transparency about health or environmental consequences. 2. Pesticide residues in organic foods. Loopholes in certification. Certain chemicals banned in the U.S. for conventional farming are allowed in imported organic produce. Corporate ownership of organic brands. Major conglomerates own most organic labels, prioritizing profits over practices. Detriment. Labels like organic or natural often provide a false sense of security. T. The financial system. Invisible enclosure. What they don't want you to know. 1. Your spending is your profile. Real-time financial surveillance. Companies like Plaid, used by Venmo, Coinbase, access bank transaction data. This is sold to advertisers, lenders, and even employers. Programmable money. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, are being developed worldwide with features like expiration dates for stimulus money or restrictions on undesirable purchases. Detriment. Financial autonomy erodes as your spending data becomes a tool for control. 2. Credit scores beyond credit. Alternative scoring. AI-driven systems like Upstart use non-traditional data, e.g., education, social media, to determine creditworthiness. This data is unregulated and prone to discrimination. Behavior-based insurance. Health and auto insurers increasingly tie premiums to wearables and driving apps. Detriment. Systems designed to assess risk reinforce existing inequalities. 6. The weaponization of information. How knowledge is controlled. 1. Algorithmic amplification of lies. Disinformation as a service. Companies in Russia, Brazil, and India sell campaigns to flood platforms with false narratives, targeting elections, public health, and social movements. Suppression of activism. Platforms like Facebook have been caught suppressing protest-related content, such as Black Lives Matter posts, while amplifying inflammatory content. Detriment. Public discourse is manipulated to divide, distract, and misinform. 2. Digital book burnings. Content removal under pressure. Companies like Amazon, YouTube, and Facebook remove content deemed controversial or misinformation, often based on opaque policies influenced by powerful interests. Paywalls on knowledge. Academic research and critical journalism are often locked behind paywalls, inaccessible to those who need it most. Detriment. A sanitized information ecosystem leaves the public uninformed and unable to critically engage with the world. 7. Energy and environment. The Great Distraction. What is minimally disclosed? 1. Greenwashing. Carbon offsets. Companies like Shell and Chevron claim net zero by purchasing offsets that often don't result in real environmental benefits. Recycling illusions. Most plastics labeled recyclable are never recycled, with the majority ending up in landfills or exported to countries with lax regulations. Detriment. Consumer guilt is exploited while systemic environmental destruction continues. 2. Geoengineering experiments. Unregulated climate hacks. Techniques like stratospheric aerosol injection, SAI, are being tested without public input or understanding of long-term effects. Private funding. Wealthy individuals, e.g., Bill Gates, fund geoengineering projects with little transparency or accountability. Detriment. Solutions to climate change may create new risks while diverting attention from systemic change. VAT 8. The Endgame. A controlled society. What all of this leads to: 1. Normalization of surveillance. Every new convenience, smart devices, wearables, apps, trains people to accept intrusion as a trade off for utility. 2. Behavioral nudging. Predictive AI systems don't just observe, they guide, manipulate, and nudge decisions toward outcomes favorable to corporate or governmental interests. 3. Erosion of sovereignty. Control over identity, health movement, and thought shifts from individuals to systems controlled by a small elite. The final question. What remains hidden is not just information. It's the realization of how deeply controlled and commodified modern life has become. The mirror has shown the system. What action will you take? What freedom will you reclaim?